Welcome back, everybody. It has been a little while since we got on the podcast. One thing you guys should know is that when I make a movie, everything else kind of falls by the wayside. And the last couple times that the podcast has fallen by the wayside, it was because I made a movie. So I'm going to try and be better about that. But for right now, I have my friends Casey Dearden and Tanner Robb here, who you guys may be familiar with from our Last of Us episodes.
I wasn't there.
Nah, you weren't. You were there for like the last one.
Okay. Also, weird flex, but okay. You're just saying, oh, I worked on a movie. No big deal.
Yeah.
Wait,
okay.
wait, Errol worked on movies?
Yeah, I made a couple. For those who don't know, I made a couple short films. One's called Wrong Way Down, and the other is in post-production right now. It's called Meet Cute. Wrong Way Down is a big, old, heavy Terrence Malick kind of thing, except not as good as Terrence Malick. And
don't do that to yourself.
And Meet Cute is a charming little rom-com with a lot of blood in it. I'm very excited to share it with everybody. So
we've seen parts of it. It looks great.
Yeah. No, I'm really happy with how it's turning out.
It's gonna steamroll the competition at the Razzies this year, let me tell you.
Screw you, dude. No, it sounds like Ant-Man and the Wasp is doing that just fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
So before we get into it, I want to ask just a general question here. This is a kind of a new thing that I want to try and get started at the beginning of our episodes. What have you guys been watching recently? As far as it can be new, it can be old, it can be movies, TV. If you've been playing a video game that is particularly cinematic and cool, you could talk about that a little bit. What have you been watching?
Dearden, you go first.
I haven't been watching a whole lot. Most of my little free time is spent playing this little indie game called Baldur's Gate 3. I got it on Christmas and have a little over 100 hours on it. So
I knew you were getting. I knew you were getting that for Christmas. By the way, Soraya messaged me.
Soraya. Yeah, Soraya was like, "Go ahead, Errol, walk me through it."
Yeah, well, it sounds like
that is a very cinematic game. That is an incredible storytelling, incredible character development. All these characters go on these wonderful arcs, and sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes you're going, "What the just happened?" It's Dungeons and Dragons, but in video game form. You can't really complain.
Oh, that is not the last time Dungeons and Dragons is going to come up in this episode either.
Oh no, it won't. No, it won't. But I've also been watching the Percy Jackson series, which is a little divisive, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I do like the kid who plays Percy. He was really funny in The Adam Project.
Yep, he's good.
Right on. Rob, I know you have been watching some stuff.
Yeah, I've been on a tear recently. I just kind of decided I wanted to talk about movies a lot more, especially with Tykert. But I have a couple buddies who we just really like movies. So I decided, and I've almost hit it. Sometimes my goal for, I suppose, this year is to watch a new movie every other day. And
that's ambitious. Like, I tried to do that, and it's tough.
Oh, I'm looking at my letterbox right now, and some of these are like just documentaries that are not that long. Or there's even one where I was on my phone the entire time because my wife put it on just to put it on, and I didn't pay attention to it, so it was bad. But yeah, I've been just enjoying movies a lot more. I kind of rekindled my love of cinema, and so one of the movies Errol sent me was Hearts Beat Loud. I really, really enjoyed that one. Nick Offerman. Well, we're gonna all be that guy when we're much older, because he's just a dorky dad. Him and his daughter. It's just a very warm movie. I really like that one.
Dearden, you watched that, right?
I did not. No,
You didn't watch Hearts Beat Loud?
no, I'm not that cool.
Oh, okay. Well, it's free with ads on YouTube right now. So
if you have ad blocker, it's free.
So anyone who's listening, who wants to check out just a really warm and moving little indie film that I feel like did not get enough attention, Hearts Beat Loud is a really excellent little movie. Dad and his daughter start a band. She's about to go off to college, and I'm not going to say any more beyond that. It's just really good. Watch it.
It's very good. It's very good. And I'll just put one more movie in there. And I hope I pronounce it right, because I watched a SpongeBob episode that had the gag of Nosferatu. How do you pronounce it, Errol?
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Yeah, a very old movie that is somehow creeped me out, though. Holy Anna, it's great.
It's really good.
It's the one of the original Dracula, but not Count Dracula movies that every horror person basically would look back to.
There was a big lawsuit about that back in the day too.
Yeah, I read it. That was lovely, and I watched that on a grave, and that kind of was a bad decision.
Yeah, no, Nosferatu is really good. I remember I watched that. I want to say that I didn't watch it for school, but I watched it for extra credit. So it's
yeah,
6 of 1, I guess.
Did either of you guys watch that Last Voyage of the Demeter?
No, I kind of wanted to. I just never got around to it.
Too. Yeah, I felt bad about that one.
Well, which one did you say?
The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
It's Dracula.
It's that one chapter in Dracula that takes place on the ship, but it's a whole movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat. I have not seen it. No.
Yeah. No, I wanted to see that and just never got around to it. It's as you know, we're all dads here. You can attest that it's difficult to get out to a movie theater these days. So the fact that I saw 19 movies last year is something of an achievement for me.
Yeah, I can't go to the movies 19 times in a year.
Well, I didn't go to the movies for all of these. Some of them were streaming exclusives. But anyway, recently I've been I revisited The Office. We got Peacock because we wanted to watch the Monk movie, and so I've been revisiting The Office superfan extended cut episodes. And you know what I really like about that show and its humor? A lot of people think that when they think The Office, they think cringe comedy. And I mean, it's got a lot of cringe in it for sure. But I actually think character comedy for The Office, because so many of the jokes are only funny if you know the characters. And I think there's some really good character writing in that show.
I think there's great character writing throughout most of it until it gets really just annoying and bad. But I agree, because something that Pam or Michael or Jim do, but they do it in another season compared to where they are in season 2, is a lot more funny because of the progression of what they've done.
Right. Well, there was this deleted scene where Michael's asking everybody their religion, and Oscar says that he's a secular humanist, and Michael's like, "Oh, great, we got a secular humanist here." and Oscar's like, "Do you even know what secular humanism is?" And Michael says something along he says this perfect, succinct explanation where he's something like secular humanism is the belief that the belief in an appeal to reason or logic rather than faith or belief. And Oscar's just dumbfounded that Michael even knew that. And that's that's such a character-based joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And that makes me think of the last scene that they have together when he gets Oscar the little sock puppet, and he just goes, "That guy has the lowest opinion of me, bar none."
Oh man, I watched Michael's last episode, and then I stopped. I know there's like a few more episodes in the season, but I just can't do it. I can't do it.
To me,
that's the correct choice.
His last episode.
I'll watch season 9 when they release the supercuts of those, because season 9's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't remember, honestly.
Yeah, well, so other than what we've been watching recently, I also watched this interview with Martin Scorsese and Timothée Chalamet, and I found this. There's this one quote in there that I really liked, where Chalamet is talking about actors showing up to set and not having their lines memorized, and Scorsese says, "What's more important to me is that they know the part, as opposed to just memorizing it." Yeah, I
so
really,
you think that
I really
there's
like that.
Do you think there's plenty of line delivery from De Niro or Leo that maybe it wasn't exactly the line, but because they got the spirit and the gist of what the scene is supposed to be, that they're like, "Yep, that's great."
I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that happened more than once. I mean, there are some writers like the Coens and Sorkin who need their lines to be said every word exactly as they wrote it. But I'm sure that happened on. I'm sure what you're talking about happened on Killers of the Flower Moon, and we're going to talk a little bit about that movie. Spoiler alert, everybody. Killers of the Flower Moon, barely cracked. No, it didn't crack my top 10. Not because it wasn't fantastic, but because it's 3.5 hours of Misery Olympics with no satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
So it's a great movie, but I honestly just don't want to talk about it very much because it's just miserable.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this last year, I watched some pretty good stuff last year, and I just want to run through my top 10. And if you guys have input along the way, or you have different picks for your top 10, I would love to hear them as well.
Top 10 of last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you didn't watch 10 things from last year, then that's fine too. But my number one was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. I probably overuse the word astonishing to talk about Across the Spider-Verse, but it really is an astonishing movie.
Oh, man, I love that movie just so much. I love the first two, and Into the Spider-Verse will probably always hold a special place in my heart forever.
Into the Spider-Verse is a better standalone experience. Across the Spider-Verse is a part 1.
Yeah, but man, they just kill it with the animation. Thank goodness we have animators that kind of stood up for what they need to stand up for. But so hopefully the next movie comes out sometime. But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse is a killer. It's so much fun, man.
Yeah, it's really good, and there are endless debates that can be had about whether Miguel is telling Miles the truth, or whether he's telling him the whole truth. I personally think that there's some stuff that he knows that he's not saying. But what we get from Across the Spider-Verse is more of the great nuanced character writing that we got from Into the Spider-Verse. It's a big movie. It's like in terms of scope, it is much bigger than the first. It is a little, I would say maybe a little messier, but not so much that I would consider that like a con.
No, it's hugely ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, 20 minutes before we get to the title screen, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I just want to say, like, I will always plug for Haley Steinfeld, and she's really good in that movie.
She's amazing. And any scene that's in her world, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm just so focused on how beautiful that world is.
I love how the colors communicate how people are feeling, right?
It's amazing. I love that that whole scene.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and the big fight in the Guggenheim is terrific. And Gwen's theme in this movie is really good. Like, I might even like it better than Miles's.
Honestly, we could talk about. We're going to keep going on a bender, but yes, the Oscars, we respect them, and we respect how they give some credit to a lot of films. But man, give credit to our boy Daniel. Do not give it to John Williams again.
I don't think John Williams is going to win it this year. Dial of Destiny was fine, but it wasn't incredible.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dial of Destiny yet. I still need to.
I think Amy has made it very aware that we don't need to.
Yeah.
Too bad. She also said that you don't need to see In the Heights, and that's just false.
Okay, I'm looking. It's going to be American Fiction, Indiana, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. I think it's going to be
probably Poor Things.
Yeah, I haven't heard the music from Poor Things.
I wouldn't know either, but I could also see it because it's a very heavy contender right now.
You don't think our boy Ludwig is gonna get it for Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer is great. The music isn't. And the music's good, but it's not. It doesn't blow you out of your seat.
I think I disagree a little, but I think what mostly kills what really rocks the entire movie experience of Oppenheimer is the editing. So that's what I think.
There is some good editing in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 2 for the year, and really when I say number 2, I kind of mean that it's tied for number 1, so I may tag a little extra thing on the end, because I cannot gush enough about Past Lives. Celine Song's directorial or feature directorial debut is a hell of an understated movie.
Yeah, as someone who's watched it and now it's like one of my favorite movies, favorite rom-coms. Yeah, romance.
Rom-drum.
It's there's so much quiet that makes it so loud, and there are multiple times where people are just standing and looking at each other, shifting every so often, and you just hear the words that they're trying to say, and it is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, no, okay. So a few years ago, for those of you listening who don't know, I made a movie called Meet Me in My Dreams. It was about 25 minutes long, and it was about a guy who kind of revisits things with the girl who got away. And when I saw the trailer for Past Lives, I'm like, this looks very familiar. And then I watched Past Lives, and I'm like, this is my movie, but better. And that is due in no small part to the really, really terrific cinematography in that movie. I feel like that has gone unsung, largely unsung, when we're talking about really well filmed movies.
It's a very well filmed movie and as I was listening to someone talk about it, that it's a 35 millimeter that really just, it's so good.
I love that shot where they part for the last time in Korea, and we see her going up the staircase, and we see him going along the mostly level alley, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's just a really well framed shot. The color's beautiful, but it also talks about the journeys that the characters are on, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she has ambition. She has things that she wants to do, and going to America is what's going to help her do that. He isn't as ambitious, and so we see that reflected in, again, the more level path that he walks. And that's just one shot in that movie that really blew me away because of how much they do with such a simple setup.
It's a really everyone should watch it. It's just glorious. It's glorious. It's very good.
It's a really gorgeous little movie. And it just, I don't know. It stuck to my soul in a way that very few movies have in recent years. So if you haven't seen Past Lives, I don't think it's streaming on anything right now, but just rent it.
Rent it, yes.
Rent it. Watch it. Because it's an understated movie, but it's very human and moving, and it talks about some very universal things in a way that feels kind of fresh. The first scene, the opening scene in that where they're in the bar is one of my favorites as well. I think it's a great way to open a movie.
Not to derail us from keeping this going for another hour, I think, Errol, a great idea for a list or a podcast episode is taking a movie, grabbing a scene, like the opening scene, and like, let's say you remove it from the movie and see how that would affect the movie.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's an interesting
because I was
exercise.
thinking because it's very interesting that you mentioned Past Lives. I was just thinking about the opening scene. I was like, what if they took that out? How would that affect that movie? So, anyways, keep going before you're here for a billion years.
Well, there's an intimacy that I think would be lost there, right? Yeah. There's this quiet, almost like voyeuristic kind of intimacy that I think will be lost. Anyway, my next favorite movie of this last year was The Holdovers. The Holdovers is great. Cannot recommend The Holdovers enough.
It's gonna be. We have Elf in our household as a tradition, but for my wife and I, The Holdovers will be a yearly tradition.
Did Ashley like it?
No, but she will, because I will make her watch it.
That's really funny. The Holdovers is.
I don't want to watch it.
The Holdovers is. How do you even properly describe that? It's a prep school movie. It's a prep school movie. It's a Christmas movie. It's a movie about a curmudgeonly dude learning to open his heart a little bit. It's an excellent case for throwing originality out the window as far as what you hope to achieve, because there's nothing that The Holdovers does that's particularly original, but it just does what it does better than almost any movie I've seen that does it. And also, you mentioned before we started talking about before we started recording that it has one of the best representations of being a Mormon kid, and yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Confirmed.
And we mean that in the nicest way possible. It's just, you see it, you get it, and you're just like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, no, I remember because the kid says, my parents are on a mission in, was it Brazil? And I was like, oh, I wonder if they're LDS. And then he's like, yeah, we're LDS. And I'm like, hey, there you go.
Hey. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Paul Giamatti is fantastic in that movie. I think Cillian Murphy is probably going to win Best Actor for Oppenheimer, but I'm secretly kind of pulling for Holdovers. I'm secretly pulling for Paul Giamatti because I think he's fantastic in that movie. He delivers some absolutely savage lines in a way that's so... It's just perfect. He's really, really good in that movie. I will say nothing more about that. Next up, we have Godzilla -1. Holy hell.
I'm going to crack up that Dearden just not going to be able to talk in this conversation. But yeah.
I tried to see it. I tried.
I know, buddy. We're all dads. We get it. We get it.
Yep.
Well,
But yes,
I think it's fair. I think it's fair that Dearden hasn't seen as many of the things, because usually it's Rob that doesn't show up for these things. So
How the turntables.
yeah, the turntables.
no, but yeah, let's talk about Godzilla for a little bit. It's really, really freaking good.
Yeah, to say the least, it's really good. It blows your socks off, and you're just like, oh, I'm rooting for the humans for the first time since the 1950s movie that I haven't watched, but I'm very aware that that one is one of the best.
So this was the first time I think I've ever given a shit about the humans in a Godzilla movie, except for maybe the original one.
Yeah, it's
and I remember I was I went and saw it with a friend, and I turned to him at one point and I was like, if anything happens to that little girl, I will walk out of this movie theater.
yeah, like without spoilers, man. Like this.
No spoilers, but
the journey that the arc that this guy goes through is so well done that you're kind of surprised, like that it's in this movie.
well, and the representation, the metaphor, the symbolism for the changing mindset of the Japanese in the aftermath of World War II, as well as Godzilla himself being a metaphor for that, and for the nation's fears after World War II, after the bomb was dropped. There's so much going on in that movie, and yet it is at the same time, it is a classic monster movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and made on $15 million. Like, come on,
Insane. Yes, it's insane that we had like, and we're gonna bring up the Oscars. Like, it got the Oscar nomination for visual effects on a $15 million movie that looks like it's $100 million. It is so awesome.
Well, you know what else? You know what else cost about $15 million to make and got the visual effects Oscar was Ex Machina.
Oh, really?
So I mean, there's precedent for it.
Man, there's a many scenes in Godzilla that, and I listen to the soundtrack now regularly because like it's just powerful.
I like the way that it blends the old classic Godzilla score in with the newer stuff. I think it's really good.
Yeah, and because me, who barely watches any of the Godzillas, like I was reading the comments and they're like, yeah, my theater started freaking out when this theme from this old 1970 or 80 movie came in, but it matched perfectly, and I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Godzilla -1 is a real treat. I was sweating during the final act of the movie. It's it's really, really effective. And I mean, the fact that I was emotionally invested in a Godzilla movie is just something that has never really happened to me. So I really, really recommend Godzilla -1. It's terrific. I wanted to see it in black and white, but just couldn't get out to it.
Yeah.
Okay, my next movie, and this is one that Dearden can talk about, and also I feel like I'm going to be alone fighting this fight, is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
Why do you say? I thought we were on the same page with this one. This is a great movie.
Okay, well, we are on the same page. I think Rob may not have been on the same page with this one.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm probably in the minority where I liked it, but it is Fallout is way too good and has ruined everything.
Well, I'll give you Fallout, in my opinion, is the best Mission Impossible movie, besides maybe Ghost Protocol.
I was going to say Ghost Protocol's up there.
Ghost Protocol's really good. But, I mean, this feels more like a return to kind of the classics. This reminds me of, like, the first 3 Mission Impossible movies, more so than kind of the later ones.
Yeah, no, it definitely has kind of a classic feel to it. I mean, the fight on the train kind of harkens back to the original movie, and there are a number of things in this film that make it feel a little more classic. Not the least of which is Haley Atwell's phenomenal performance in this movie.
Yes, she's very good.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she's very good.
She brings a humanity to her character that we don't usually get for a lot of for a lot of women in this franchise. But it seems like Chris McQuarrie does pretty well with the women in this series. Like, none of them feel like, I don't know, sketches.
I will say Rebecca Ferguson's character did feel like that in this movie. I felt nothing when, spoiler alert, she died.
I'm not convinced she's dead.
I'm pretty convinced.
You're not because the one chick didn't die?
No, because it's a Mission Impossible movie.
I accept.
This one, Dead Reckoning also has the second scariest villain in the franchise.
I mean, yeah, it's a good villain. What, AI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The AI in this movie is scarier than almost every villain except for Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was great.
He set a standard that I don't know if it's ever going to be reached again.
I doubt it.
But yeah, no, I love Mission Impossible. It is a 2.5 hour part one. I can see why some people would take issue with that, but I think it was just really well calibrated. I thought that the action scenes were a lot of fun, and they managed to get to some pretty human moments that I really appreciated. It's not my favorite in the series. I would agree with Dearden that it's either Fallout or Ghost Protocol. But I really love it. I mean, Mission Impossible, if people listening don't know, is my favorite movie series except for number 2. I kind of just pretend that 2 doesn't... You can skip it, and it doesn't affect anything. But Dead Reckoning is a worthy entry in that franchise, and it's kind of almost a meme at this point that when a Mission Impossible movie comes out, it's just the best spy movie of the year, and that's certainly the case here.
I mean, I'm trying to think of another spy movie. Yeah, you're right. It is the best this year.
If you count John Wick 4 as a spy movie, I mean, I know that's more of like a hitman assassin movie, but you know, they're all kind of cut from the same cloth.
No, John Wick 4 is New Game Plus, where everyone is a bullet sponge.
Look, I like John Wick 4. I think it's a lot of fun. It's way too long, and like at a certain point, I'd like my disbelief can only be suspended so much.
Yeah. But we got a very good Hotline Miami shot. That's the coolest thing. Probably going to be one of the coolest things in an action movie for a very long time.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the best. It's one of the most well shot action scenes in history. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, no, it is high praise. It's high praise. So then next we have Oppenheimer. This is another one of those where it's kind of like, what can we say that hasn't already been said? Oppenheimer's really good, and I had it rated like slightly lower when I first watched it, but then I found myself thinking about it consistently a month later, and I was like, okay. There's definitely more here than I initially thought. The acting's really good. Robert Downey Jr. is going to get Best Supporting Actor for it. That's basically a foregone conclusion in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's probably, I would say it's Nolan's most sophisticated movie. It's not my favorite movie of his, but I would say that he hasn't made anything this sophisticated as far as like filmmaking goes, as far as structure and storytelling goes, since like Memento, The Prestige. I
love The Prestige.
Prestige is fantastic.
Yeah, Prestige is a top 10 movie of mine of all time. I love that
real
movie.
Good. But Oppenheimer sits comfortably in the upper tier of Nolan stuff.
I agree with that.
And I'm a diehard Christopher Nolan fan, even though I will admit my love affair with Christopher Nolan has faded a little bit in recent years. But Oppenheimer definitely kind of reignited it. Anyway, next, in a total tonal shift from Oppenheimer, actually, it's not. I guess it's not really that much of a shift. Is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? I loved Guardians 3.
I don't think any of us is going to disagree with that. It's very good.
Well, there's something weird for me. I think most of the movie is actually probably my least favorite Guardians movie. However, and that's not to say that most of the movie's bad. It's a good movie. It's just kind of like Killers of the Flower Moon light in that it's like almost 2 hours of Misery Olympics. And then, however, the ending. Like, the ending really... They really earn the ending. And it is joyous. It's uplifting. It's bittersweet. There's some sadness to it. But there's a real sense of catharsis to the ending. And James Gunn has demonstrated yet again that nobody knows how to use licensed music like him.
Yeah, most of the music in that, any of his films, really. I love the Suicide Squad soundtrack as well.
Oh my gosh!
But in Guardians 3, that has so much that it goes already on my soundtrack, and then I'm just loving that end of really rocks, man.
Yeah, well, and it concludes the character arcs of these characters that we've been with and loved for a long time in a really satisfying and meaningful way. And especially considering that James Gunn wasn't hugely fond of how they handled the characters in Avengers Infinity War specifically. It's commendable that he stuck with those choices. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
JJ.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna name any JJ Abrams, but it's like I'm not gonna go on a rant here. I'm just gonna say that what they did with Rise of Skywalker was cowardly, and Guardians of the Galaxy does the opposite of that. It honors the choices that were made by its predecessor, even when the filmmaker making this movie wasn't a fan of all of them, and I think that's commendable. And it concludes the character arcs perfectly. Yeah, I mean, Rayanne and I were both just in tears at the end of this movie. Part of that, I think, was because just personally we had a really hard year, and that movie kind of represented a turning point for us a little bit. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the best MCU movie, at least since No Way Home. I think it's pretty I don't think that's a hot take.
It's a pretty room temperature take at best.
Okay, I don't think either of you saw Air, did you?
Nope.
I saw about half of it. We watched it, but I was working, so I didn't really watch it. But
As long as you
I liked
just
what I saw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as you didn't quit because you didn't like it, because I don't see how someone could watch this movie and not like it.
Every time I looked at the screen, I was intrigued, and I was invested in what was going on. All the characters were great, and it just had an energy about it. Like, just everything was exciting. They managed to make shoes, and getting a deal done with some high school punk exciting.
Right. Well, and I love I love the story that Michael Jordan said he would only give his blessing to the movie if they cast Viola Davis as his mom. I just think that's great.
You can't go wrong with Viola Davis.
She's so good. I love her. And Air, like, when I first saw the commercial, I'm like, oh, so it's going to be a Nike commercial. And it's not that, but it is a lot more. It's a really good script. And Ben Affleck has added another notch to his directorial belt. It's just a really, really fun movie. It was a breath of fresh air for me. I didn't expect breath of fresh air. And I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I watched it, and then I told Rayanne, hey, we're going to watch this tomorrow. And then I watched it again the next day. So it's really fun. Check it out, everybody. After Air is Barbie. And
Hi, Barbie.
I am... Hi, Barbie. Hi, Ken. Now, I am not in the target audience, the target demographic for this movie. None of us are. However, I am kind of obsessed with Greta Gerwig.
Really? Ladybird, you don't say. You don't quote that at least once a month. You don't say.
Once a month? Those are rookie numbers. We need to bump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Shut up.
No, Barbie's really good. I like Barbie a lot. I think that there's some fun commentary. I think that the role reversal is the role reversal of how men and women are kind of perceived, or like their place in society. The way that that's reversed, I think, is really clever. There's a line in there about how eventually the Kens will have as much power in Barbie Land as women do in the real world, that I think is just brilliant.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Is there anything in the movie that is as fun as watching insecure dudes lose their minds about that movie?
Oh, man. Ben Shapiro destroyed Barbie. Tell you what.
Yeah. Crying about a movie for 45 minutes really showed her, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she $1 billion. She's doing fine.
Right. Wipe her tears with $100 bill.
Yeah, well, did you know Greta Gerwig is now the first director in history whose first 3 films were all nominated for Best Picture?
Well, she's good at that, you know?
The movies aren't like something you're like, yeah, I guess I gave it to her. No, her movies are stupidly good, man.
I mean, Hollywood's woke now. We kind of have to give it to someone.
Okay, well.
How much do you think Mattel paid the Academy to...
Okay, well, we're gonna move on from Barbie. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Barbie's real good. Ryan Gosling's hilarious in it. If there's anybody listening who didn't know he could be funny, go watch The Nice Guys. He's really hilarious in that too.
He's very funny.
And then my number 10 for the year was Wonka. I was not expecting to like this movie, but I like this movie.
I am a little ashamed to say that while it was on today, I was not able to really participate because there was chores, and then one of the kids got upset, so the movie had to be shut off. So I will watch it, but what I did see, I enjoyed. And Olivia Colman, anytime she's on screen, I'm like, okay, I have to stop to watch her.
I adore her.
Our boy Timothée Chalamet, I think, gave a really underrated performance in Wonka. I think he's really good in it.
I think that's very accurate. You know, you can see, like, you can just see the Gene Wilder in him. He's a younger, more naive Gene Wilder.
Starry-eyed, kind of. Hasn't been beaten down by the world yet.
Yeah, and he's just like one of the funniest lines is, you know, he and Noodle are going to be killed by, you know, death by chocolate, and he starts putting stuff in the chocolate and goes, well, if we're going to die, at least I'm going to die in Wonka chocolate.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, so Wonka, like any movie by director Paul King, is a warm hug. That's the best way I can describe it. Again, it's one of those that doesn't do anything original, but that doesn't matter. It just does what it does well, and it makes you feel good. It's a charming little movie. The music is pretty good, and the characters are likable. So I don't really have I don't really have any, like, I don't know, caveats or major criticisms. It's just a nice movie.
I have one criticism that I'd like to bring up,
Okay.
and that is Hugh Grant did not have enough screen time in this film.
He's really funny.
He's one of the most charming people on the planet, and he's in two of my favorite movies of this year. And he did not have enough screen time in both of them.
I was just about to ask what the other one was, but actually the next movie on my list after my number 10 is Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons, I did not expect. Like, I knew they had a good cast, but I did not, at the time that it came out, know who made it. Writer-director John Francis Daley is a kind of a heavy hitter. Like, he co-wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, and he wrote and directed Game Night.
Game Night's amazing.
Game Night's a ton of fun.
And Dungeons and Dragons is right in that same fun spirit. Honestly, everything that he's written has been fun.
What I loved about Dungeons and Dragons is it felt like you were playing the game. Like, there are moments where a character rolls a natural 1, and it's hilarious. I mean, like,
I know exactly the scene you're talking about, and all I can say is that I will sing Chris Pine's praises for time and all eternity.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Forever
gosh.
and ever.
He is so funny and charming and winsome. He's just a while ago Patty Jenkins said that if she made 100 movies in her career, he would be in every one of them, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, he's a treasure.
He really is.
I was listening to a stream recently, and the guy said that if you want to understand comedy and timing and how you just write it well, watch the graveyard scene from Dungeons and Dragons, and you'll get. And I agree. That scene is one of the funniest. I laughed so hard at so many points, and just when like you think you get it, they throw you a little curveball. It's so good.
It really does evoke, because I have only played a few games of Dungeons and Dragons, or a few sessions of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not super into D&D, but it does really evoke the feeling of playing a game with your dumb friends. And also, like, the action scenes in the movie go weirdly hard, which is another praise that I had for Game Night as well. The action in Game Night did not need to be as good as it was, and yet
it really is. Yeah.
But especially that scene, the one-shot scene with the Fabergé egg in the house.
Yes.
Really terrific. But Dungeons and Dragons, for me, I guess the Fabergé egg scene of Dungeons and Dragons is the one with the portal and the mirror in the carriage.
It's a good moment.
Yeah, it felt like a Mission Impossible movie, but with magic. It was wonderful. So anyway, those are my top of the year. I saw a bunch of other stuff, but those are my top. I think I saw some pretty good stuff this year. Is there anything else you guys wanted to mention before we kind of shift gears to our next thing?
I had two movies that I wanted to add on there that I liked quite a bit.
Okay.
I think these would go below all of those movies that you listed that I've seen, which is a little more than half. But Hunger Games: A Ballad of Bloody 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 Blah. For the first two acts, that movie was pretty darn entertaining, and it was intriguing. It was nice to, like, what I really liked about it, the cast was okay. Rachel Ziegler's an incredible singer, not an incredible actress.
She was really good.
She makes it now that she can sing.
She was really good in West Side Story.
She was great in West Side Story. She was 50-50 in this movie.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Snow, but I thought he did a really good job
Blythe.
Blythe. Yes, thank you.
Wow. Usually I'm the one pulling
Yeah.
actors' names out of my ass, but
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
that's-
I'm not near a computer whatsoever right now.
Well, I thought he might be Eminem's son, so Skittle. I
there
don't
were a
know.
lot of memes about that.
Yeah, but he does a really good job. What I loved about this movie specifically was it doesn't make you like the bad guy.
Hmm.
He's a bad guy. He's a piece of shit. And you just understand why he's a piece of shit a little bit better. You see he's given the choice to make the right decision and he goes, why would I do that?
I feel like in the post Game of Thrones era, those kinds of characters are more appreciated than they were before.
I think you're correct. One of the few things they did right with the character of Daenerys, who from the get-go is a bitch, but no one believed me.
I was gonna say they did it well with Cersei because she's consistently unlikable, has almost no redeeming qualities, but you get why she's that way.
That's true. And then the second movie I wanted to bring up was Napoleon.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I thought Napoleon was a beautiful, beautiful, boring movie. Joaquin Phoenix was amazing. The actress, I cannot think of her name.
Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa Kirby. I want to say Darby. Vanessa Kirby is amazing. Some of the battle sequences, while not accurate, are amazing. And then I fell asleep for the rest of it. But it's beautiful to watch. It was very interesting to learn. It was just too ambitious. You know, they tried to do all of Napoleon's extensive, very dramatic life, and you ended up basically just getting spark notes on his life instead.
Okay.
And if they'd focused just on this, just on that, I think this could have been an amazing like 3-parter or like a mini series.
I think he wanted it to be a mini series. I think Ridley Scott did.
Hats off to Joaquin Phoenix. He was amazing in the movie.
Well, I mean, does he ever miss?
Not really, no.
Yeah. I'll see Napoleon eventually, but
You don't need to go to the movies for it. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed another one that I loved. I don't know, Tyker, if you watched this movie. A Haunting in Venice.
no, I need to. Dang it!
Oh, it's my least favorite of the Poirot movies, because it delves into the paranormal a little bit.
Really,
but it's
you liked it worse than Death on the Nile? Because Death on the Nile I've cooled on that movie quite a bit.
I like Death on the Nile. Once we get past Gal Gadot's character, once she dies, I think the movie flows a lot better.
That's something you never want to hear.
Weirdly enough, but once she dies, life gets better. But A Haunting in Venice was a very I really like these movies. I love Kenneth Branagh. He's an amazing actor. He's a pretty good director. That is a movie that I think everyone should see.
Okay, no, I do want to see. Well, and you know I love Tina Fey. Like I have like a crush on Tina Fey. So
who doesn't? She's amazing.
Yeah, she's fantastic. There are just a couple. Rob, do you have anything else?
I really enjoyed, even if I had a few problems with Nimona. And I don't know if anyone else here saw that one.
No, I haven't watched that one yet.
It's a great little anime feature, and you can it kind of, and this to a degree might ruin it for you guys, but it's kind of like the Iron Giant. There's a lot of similarities, but the art style, while it's sometimes I wish they just had like a little more layer, like one layer to it that would have made it look incredible. Like sometimes you're just like, that doesn't look as good. But for the most part, it looks really good. It's just a really good film about two people who are somehow paired together. But there's also just the fact that one character is basically a trans person because of how they shapeshift and how that people call them a monster. And the other one is a guy in a queer relationship, and it's kind of freaking beautiful. Like, they really do it well. So Disney apparently was going to work on it, but then they tried to bury it and kill it, and so it got picked up by
Gotta be able to market
Netflix
it in China, right?
And exactly. So it's really good. I really liked it. Like, there's nothing about it that's like super mind changing, but I also am aware that for another community, for the LGBTQ community, it was probably very impactful. So I have to throw that movie out there because I really liked it. And I would say, honestly, Super Mario Bros. Was fun.
I still haven't
very
watched
mid.
that. I've been meaning to.
That's kind of crazy. You have a daughter. Like, it's a good movie to put on for your kid.
Was that this year?
Yeah, dude. That was this year. Chris Pratt had 2 movies this year that were like decent to really good. Yeah, no, I really like the Mario Bros. It looks good. It's definitely the best looking Illumination movie, and probably the best one since Despicable Me, which is not seen a lot because it really is a mid tier.
The first Despicable Me is really good.
Yeah, that's what I said. Listen to what I'm saying. So yeah, I like that movie. Like, I everything we've been talking about, I basically have watched or will attempt to watch. Like, there was this one movie called Wrong Way Down. I really liked it. It was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I need to release that.
Yeah. Shiva Baby was great. I'm not going to go into detail about that one because you should watch it. It's under 90 minutes. Theater Camp was great. And yes, go watch Past Lives. That's great.
Right on. Yeah, for me, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret was a gem. Kelly Freeman Craig continues to be a director to watch. Flora and Son came out. That's a John Carney movie. Anyone who knows me knows that I love Once and Sing Street. Flora and Son isn't as good as either of those, but it is quite charming and likable. I recommend it. Color Purple was rather good. I enjoyed Color Purple. Well, okay, enjoyed might not be the right word, but it's a good movie. Creed 3. Creed 3 is the worst of the Creed movies, but it's still better than most of the Rocky movies. So, do with that what you will. Elemental was solid, but not as good as it could have been.
It's fine. It looks nice, but it's fine.
Speaking of, they do a really good job with the relationship between the dad and the daughter. I think that's where the movie excels. And speaking of movies that weren't as good as they should have been, Maestro was one of those. Let's see. Chicken Run 2 was fun and passable.
It looks good, but it looks really pretty.
It is really pretty, and it's enjoyable. It's fun. It doesn't come near the original though, so set your expectations accordingly.
Yeah, for most viewers, Society of the Snow came out on Netflix this year, but it was released last year, and like some very small viewings. So that's why it's considered for the Oscars for 2023.
I need to watch.
I saw that recently.
I love J.A. Bayona.
It is rough. It is about the crash of this rugby team where they crash in just the worst. Yes, and it is rough. It is a beautiful movie and it's well acted, but it is rough.
Yeah, no, I want to see that. I love J.A. Bayona, so that's definitely on my list. And then I'm just going to end this part by saying Little Mermaid and The Flash were overhated. They're not like masterpieces, but they're fine. So,
I agree with that. Flash had some really great moments. Terrible main character, but
and yeah, the CGI is as bad as you've heard. But for the people who said that ruined the movie for them, stop. Just stop.
Okay, just stop. Okay.
And then Little Mermaid, Halle Bailey is terrific in that movie. She's really, 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 really good. I like her better as Ariel than Jodie Benson, and I love Jodie Benson.
That is a hot take right there, boy.
She's
I
excellent.
think I agree with
Also,
it, though.
dude, agree. But who's defending the Disney Renaissance movie? Like, it's good, but you're not like, oh yeah, let's defend that movie and like how
Right.
great it.
Yeah, let's not pretend. Let's just pretend that the original Little Mermaid didn't have some of the worst messaging in the history of Disney.
Look, all I'm gonna say is if you want to watch The Little Mermaid, just watch Ponyo by Studio Ghibli. That's a much better interpretation of The Little Mermaid. And if my kids ask to watch Little Mermaid, I'm like, hey, we're watching this instead.
No, what you got to do is watch Ponyo and then just watch Halle Bailey's rendition of Part of Your World. That's it.
You know, I would, but I couldn't hear that last part you cut out. Can you repeat?
I said just watch Ponyo and then just watch.
I don't care.
Watch.
I don't care. No, I'm not going to.
And
Move on.
Peter Pan and Wendy was super underwhelming. I kind of liked it at first, but the more I thought about it, the less I liked it. So,
Yeah, I didn't care for it to begin with. I thought it was extremely unoriginal and boring.
Jude Law was pretty good in it. Like, I don't know. There are worse ways to spend a couple hours, but that was probably my least favorite movie of the year. Okay, well, that about wraps it up for our year in review. I'm Errol Teichert. I've been here with Dearden and Rob. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Pleasure to be here.
You're welcome.
Ooh, are you doing the Rock? I've been watching Moana a lot recently, so.
I just subconsciously do it. My coworkers make fun of me. I can't stop it, and I won't.
All right, well, until next time, on with the movies, guys.